After the extravagant display of wealth at the wedding of Anil Ambani last week, people have become more curious about where all the money came from. Obviously paid for by his father, Mukesh Ambani, the richest man in Asia, questions about how wealthy they actually are have started to arise. Contrary to popular belief, the Ambanis already had an impeccable reputation even before the youngest heir gained attention for his lavish wedding. In fact, they were able to build an empire in India so big that no one dared to compete against them. But how were they able to create such a vast network of businesses, and where did it all start? In this video, we will go over the history of the Ambanis and how one person was able to build an empire from scratch. Who is Mukesh Ambani? At this point, most of you are already aware that Mukesh Ambani is the person behind one of the biggest and most profitable businesses in India, Reliance Industries. Born on 19 April 1957, this business mogul is one of 4 children of eminent Indian industrialist Dhirubhai Ambani. He earned his bachelor's degree in chemical engineering from the University of Bombay, now the University of Mumbai, and later pursued a master's degree in business administration from Stanford University. However, he dropped out in 1981 to join the family business, where he worked extensively to turn the company into a diversified conglomerate. After their father's death in 2002, Mukesh and his brother, Anil, assumed co-leadership of the Reliance companies. Just like in many families where rivalry exists, the brothers had a feud over their control, which resulted in a split of the corporation's assets via a non-competition agreement. Anil took control of the telecom, power generation, and financial services sectors, while Mukesh took over the gas, oil, and petrochemical segments, forming the Reliance Industries Limited, RIL, we know today. So how big is the business today? Based on the numbers, Reliance Industries is the second most profitable company in India, behind SBI. While Mukesh is widely recognized as the driving force behind this business empire, would you have guessed that this is the ultimate source of his fortune? Many believe that Reliance Jio, the largest telecom provider in India, is responsible for his wealth, while others credit Reliance Retail's clever bazaar outlets. However, they are all wrong. Reliance Telecom's portion of their overall earnings is surprisingly lower than that of Reliance Retail, with the former making up even less than the latter. In actuality, after its 2016 introduction, Reliance Jio lost money for the next 2 years. Additionally, it needed a $22 billion investment, or a 150,000 crore rupee investment, which shockingly generated no returns for the years that followed. So obviously, these businesses are not the main source of Ambani's cash flow. The true source of Ambani's wealth. The source is, in fact, an endless financial well so deep that even if you spent it your entire life, it would never run dry. Literally, the Ambani family built this cash cow decades ago, and it's likely that he, his offspring, and the following many generations will continue to milk it. So he's not in the retail, sports, or even entertainment industries that help the Ambanis stay on top. It's among the most dull industries you could possibly work in, the Jamnagar refinery. Let's take a closer look. The story behind the Jamnagar refinery. Apparently the primary source of the riches of the Ambani family, this corporation is a refinery for crude oil that produces gasoline and a number of other useful goods. But it's not just any other refinery, because today the Jamnagar refinery is one of the biggest in the world. If that does not explain the reason behind the family's extreme wealth, then I don't know what will. Reliance Industries' oil-to-chemical business brings in 68 crore rupees an hour, with technology so superior that no other corporation or nation can equal it. You see, none of the petroleum-based goods we rely on, such as gasoline and diesel, are mined from the earth and made ready for use. Crude oil, which must be processed at a refinery like the one in Jamnagar, is what we obtain from extraction. And after refining the crude oil, they produce the final usable goods. On top of this, crude oil is used to extract goods like gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, LPG, kerosene, petrochemicals, and even petroleum jelly like Vaseline. So it now makes sense why Jamnagar holds the record for being the largest refiner in the world for 25 years. So how much money did it generate for the family? Reliance Industries made over 73,000 crore rupees in profit after taxes in 2023, and looking at the EBITDA contribution, 9.1% went into oil and gas exploration. Reliance Retail made up 12%. Digital services accounted for 33.6% of this category, which also includes Reliance Fresh, Smart Bazaar, AJIO, Nemitz, and other companies. This covers pretty much everything related to Jio, including fiber, cinema, and telecom, aside from JioMart. Subsequently, OTC, or the oil to chemicals refining industry, made the most contribution, contributing 41.5%. Additionally, you need to be aware that the Ambani family has placed stakes on digital services and Reliance Retail. It was only a few years ago that they began to pay off in the shape of profits, and he got the funding to cover all of these bets from the refinery company. An excellent illustration of this was the $22 billion required in 2016 to launch Jio Telecom. Now, let's talk about history. How did an Indian individual create the largest crude oil refinery globally? Who constructed this refinery and when was it founded? And what motivated the Ambani family to enter the refinery industry to begin with? Mukesh and Anil Ambani are not first-generation billionaires, unlike Gautam Adani. The story behind their star was written by one man. It's no other than the OG himself, Dhirubhai Ambani. He began his career in the late 1960s as a small-time textile yarn broker. In 1975, he founded Vimal, a garment line that gained popularity fast due to its superior fabric. Unsatisfied with his accomplishment, Dhirubhai discovered that a portion of the profits were actually going to their suppliers, who gave them the yarn for their clothing, and he did not want to share anymore. Thus, he began producing polyester yarn. He didn't have a formal business degree, but he was practicing backward integration, which increases profit margins by manufacturing raw materials in-house. He became the richest man in India by the late 1980s, but he soon discovered that petrochemicals and polymers were required for the production of polyester yarn. As a result, Reliance became one of the major petrochemical companies in India in 1996, when they opened their integrated petrochemical complex in Hazira, Gujarat. But he did not stop there. He intended to control the refining process as well, as it is how petrochemicals are made from crude oil. Thus, Dhirubhai Ambani's eldest son Mukesh Ambani carried out his father's 1999 goal to build the biggest oil refinery in the world. It's still true that Mukesh was the one who started this massive initiative, and this is where the Ambani's extraordinary vision and financial sense really paid off. As you can see, Ambani's approach to business has remained mostly the same. When Dhirubhai worked with textiles, he made sure he dominated. At one point, Vimal was the biggest textile brand in India. The same thing happened with petrochemicals. One of the most advanced plants at the time was the Hazira facility in Gujarat, and Mukesh Ambani has carried on the tradition. He essentially drove out every rival in the market. Jio followed suit in the telecom industry. They just accomplished it one more time by merging with a Disney Hotstar in India, almost by force. He does the same thing with the Jamnagar refinery, growing his business to such an extent that no one else can even hope to compete with him. From the start, it was intended to be the undisputed industry leader. The refinery was more than just a typical one. It was a fully functional manufacturing complex complete with apartments for its 2,500 workers. Not to add that it boasts a specific shipping port, an energy power producing complex, a water treatment facility, and an airport terminal. And now, with the lavish nuptials of Anil Ambani, Mukesh's son, the family is back in the news. But not everyone was happy about their show of wealth. In fact, The family was criticized for allegedly being out of touch with the current situation of their country, where millions of people are having a hard time earning enough to support their day-to-day lives. While here they are, spending over $600 million for a wedding and inviting A-list Hollywood celebs to perform during the events. The activities have sparked widespread interest on social media, but then again, not everyone is impressed. In a country with some of the world's largest economic inequality, some have gone to social media to attack the Ambanis for not investing more money in the country's working class. However, the opinions of many people around the world were unheard, as the wedding pushed through and was even deemed a success. And Ambani is not stopping anytime soon. It was reported that the head of the family is still making plans for the next 10 years, taking into account the growth of EVs and green energy. He is now investing in those industries since he believes that gasoline and diesel will become obsolete in the upcoming years. Reliance has actually begun the process of turning the Jamnagar refinery from a major fuel generator into a major chemical manufacturer. The intention is to produce petrochemicals from over 70% of the crude oil processed at Jamnagar. In addition, it declared the commitment of an additional $10 billion toward the construction of 4 gigafactory for the production of green hydrogen, batteries, and solar cells. Mukesh Ambani is so far ahead that he is already planning for the 20, 30, and even 40 years. For precisely this reason, the Ambani's wealth is still expanding, and nobody is going to stop them at this point. What do you think of the Ambani family's wealth? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.